And here we are, halfway through our Sunday smorgasbord of matches at the Overwatch League. We saw Paris triumph just now against the Florida Mayhem, but this match is interesting. Both of these teams, Matthew, they're hurting.
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia Fusion and the Boston Uprising have not gotten off to good starts here in Stage 3. Both of them, playoff teams at the end of last year.
They were big teams in Season 1.
Fusion get to the finals last year.
Runners up.
And it's the same roster. They just kind of look like a shell of themselves. I think it's just more of the meta.
Let's do a damage check and just see exactly where we are in the grand scheme of things for these two teams. So the Fusion are at 10th place right now, and hey, look, at 8-8, you can absolutely make a late run in towards that top 6, but that gap is starting to close. The Boston Uprising, though, have backslid down into 14th place, and I mean, that was punctuated by a crashing loss to the Houston Outlaws this week.
Yeah, I mean, the Outlaws have been playing better as of late. The Outlaws kind of like sneaking up there, now tied with the Valiant, starting to get some maps in their favor. But Boston, they really need to get something going, and it's quite interesting that they're struggling because there's more Sombra in the meta than there was before. They have RCK, who's been a pretty good Sombra up until this point. I do think some of the experiments they've been making in terms of, subbing out Aim God, like whether you don't have Aim God and Kellex, you see the frustrations of Fusions there have not worked out in that support line thus far.
And you saw that look from Fusions as well. That looks like a feeling helpless kind of reaction, as much as he was upset about the loss there. So yeah. The Boston Uprising, after that game, must have gone back to the drawing board and asked ourselves, what's going wrong here? Because we've lost to a team that maybe we shouldn't have lost to. Let's talk about Philly though, because we're starting to see finally starting to see a bit more of a DPS offering from them. Now, they've not had a great start either. It was a tough one against the Gladiators for them here. We saw Poco on the 76, Carpe on the Sombra. So I thought these guys would be the first team to go towards more DPS-based comps, but they're actually one of the most stubborn moving away from the 3-3.
I mean, just let Carpe play any of the damage dealers. I feel like, you get him on Sombra in that scenario, he's in a good spot. I think EQO on the Pharah. I think 3-3 has not really been great for Philadelphia this far.
And they worked on it.
Yeah, if they can stay 500 until the meta changes, they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah, they can make another late run. I mean, the Spitfire did that in the last season and made it all the way to the top. So now, without further ado, let's welcome to the stage the Philadelphia Fusion. I was walking down a corridor talking to Kirby, and I was like, man, it's been ages since I cast a Philly game. He's like, yo, it's only been 2 weeks at this stage. I'm like, yeah, but it feels like ages. This team now starting to show a little bit of an inclination to go towards more of the damage dealers. As we said, Sato, Bren pointed it out at halftime in the match against the Gladiators, is looking better. He's kind of rejecting some of the claims that people make about his ability as a main tank here. I want to see more Poco DPS, man. I'm all about it.
I mean, they were able to get by the NYXL last year with Sato, so you can't be that bad.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is a very talented roster, top to bottom, where I just don't think 3-3 is their thing. I think you can run some more damage dealers with this lineup. I think Carpe on the Sombra is a good shot as well.
And their opponents still reeling from a tough match against the Outlaws earlier this week, looking to bounce back. Welcome to the arena, the Boston Uprising. Stony face, and you'd expect to see that now as this team knows that their work is cut out for them. Less smiles and more grim resolve, determination.
So you got a Persian Kellex here today. I think that's what you're mentioning. They kind of rotate some of these supports. So Persian definitely has to step up into the hole kind of left with Aim God out of the lineup. As Aim God comes on to the team last year, plays quite well. We'll have to see if they can get it done with this lineup today.
Yeah, among Zenyatta's, Persia has the highest first death rate right now. Now, obviously, he hasn't played as many games, so that will even out a little bit. But we have been seeing him struggling with getting picked off. That early positioning in some of these fights has been a problem.
I would say as well, going from, the mid-season where you're not in the Overwatch League, not playing games, and then just kind of thrown into it, it's a huge adjustment that you cannot simulate with any amounts of scrims.
Yeah, absolutely. He was thrown in with Alamo to start with. Yeah. And now Kellex is showing up a little bit more, so there's a little bit of experimentation going on the Boston side, but also on the Fusion side. Want to see the EQO Pharah. His Hanzo was a big part of like the EQO Carpe tag team double sniper composition last year. Now, we may not see that again, of course, but we know what these two players are capable of doing. They were definitely regarded. When EQO first showed up for the Fusion, no one knew what to expect, and he completely stunned us.
Yeah, and you see his numbers versus the Gladiators on the far, good damage, 13 final blows, only 2 deaths. Definitely made a difference on the hero. I think it's just determining on map pool whether you can run some of those triple DPS looks for the Philadelphia Fusion. I also think they should experiment with more Sombra-based comps. I think, Poco can play Zarya at a high level. We've seen that in the past. We know his D.Va is very strong. I think it's a composition that could work out well.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of options. We saw Poco play Soldier 76 in that triple DPS composition. Poco used to be a DPS player. Used to be a Genji player, actually. And EQO here on screen. He came out of Israel. No one knew what to expect from this guy, Dominator. Let's have a look at our map pool presented by Toyota. Starts on Ilios. We go to Paris after that, which will definitely show us some different compositions. Maybe it's just a Bastion. Maybe that'll be the only different thing. Then Hollywood, then Gibraltar map.
It's not really a great map pool for like Sombra and other types of things like Hollywood. A lot of triple tank, triple support. Same with Gibraltar. You don't have like a Volskaya in there, let's say. None of the, even Eichenwald you can place in Sombra, but we'll kick things off here on Ilios. It'll be Boston who will have the Sombra Doomfist in play.
Yeah, a bit of a mix-up for them. We know Blase is actually a prolific Doomfist player. You should have high expectations from this player on this role, no doubt about it. And again, now Blase, well, his presence has been revealed, but he enters with fanfare and a rocket punch. Sato takes a chunk of damage. That is hastily healed up. Looks like Kalahex ate a fire strike there, so he's being ministered to, and RCK drops the boombox. Early pick going to the Fusions and Yada.
Yeah, and if you're expecting one of the damage dealers to die first, you would have thought it would have been Blase on the Doomfist, but pretty passive up until this point. Goes in with a rocket punch, has the bubble provided by Kalahex. Not worried about it at all.
Poco writes it down. See Blase goes in trying to get a responsive kill. EQ is actually hacked there, so he's forced to back away. Can't do much as Brigitte when that's the case, and Kalahex gets the cleanup. Despite Philly getting the first pick, Matt, they can't do much with it. They stood around a heck of a long time, which is bizarre to me considering they killed the enemy's Zarya, but the Doomfist still generating a lot of threat.
Yeah, and no EMP here for RCK, so that's a positive for the Philadelphia Fusion. Poco just standing there, maybe brings out the Sombra. Trying to go for a hack and being able to spot where they are right away. Rally to open up the fight here for the Fusion.
Yeah, they got Fusion straight away here, the Fusion. Oh, that's going to kill me. Probably looking to focus down on the main tank of the Boston Uprising more than anything. They know how important he is, even as a leader and a caller on this roster. Blase forced to get out there, and that's how the Meteor Strike will be used.
Do you stay on the Doomfist here if you're Boston? Do you get stopped right now? They're going to have the EMP plus Graviton Surge for next fight. Sound barrier if necessary as well. It's a really difficult map for Boombox to hide. Like, where do you hide in this position?
Maybe on the left side or try and back away to the back right.
Yeah, I mean, even then, you can't really get to the point. He gets hacked up now. Now the EMP will come down.
He actually got Boombox with that, did RCK, so even though he looked like he was heading forward, it was a very effective EMP. Most of Philly having their lights switched out. And that'll be a quick fight there going to the Boston Uprising. A lot of back and forth early in this round.
And then also because Boston's not playing a D.Va right now, like Carpe just hits his Graviton Surge for this fight. Like this is his first one. And you don't have that D.Va to be able to farm up where Kalahex does on the other side. So he's able to build that grabs and have it that previous fight. Now Carpe has his. We'll see if we see grabs from both sides. Self-destruct plus sound barrier.
Oh, I got Persia. There's that first death rate again, ticking up a little bit more. Persia just getting caught out. It happens as Ana. You don't have a lot of mobility. If you're caught by surprise by a self-destruct, it's quite often to see Anas get eliminated by that ability.
And they nano the Doomfist as well, and Blase not able to get anything with the effects.
That hurts.
Of the nano boost. So there goes both support ults. Although Nano used more offensively than on the defensive side of things, even though it does have that burst heal. Damage mitigation again. Carpe just trying to spot check here for RCK. Just a steady beam through the doorway. We'll see the grab come down early.
Carpe let someone go straight away. Blase there was the one that actually got charged up against the wall of Fusions. So low. The Philadelphia Fusion now, that fight, honestly, pretty cheaply won for them. Rally, grab used. Got a Shadow rely on in the next fight. This is where it gets tough though. The Boston Uprising have banked some of the most impactful ults in the game of Overwatch, let alone on their side of the field.
It'll be easier for Neptuno to hide rather than Boombox though, with the sound barrier to be able to use that once the EMP comes down, but RCK doing a good job spotting right now. He actually hacks Neptuno. Now he's going to translocate probably back into the team. It's the same thing they did when they had Transcendence. He got the hack on a Boombox last time, then EMP this time. The hack on a Neptuno, then the EMP comes down.
Really conservative play from Philadelphia, though. There wasn't even any inkling that they might try and invest in that fight after the EMP connected. They'd lost Boombox, actually, before RCK. In fact, pretty much at the same time as RCK went to EMP, so had RCK seen that, he may not even have bothered using it.
If you're Philly, you know you have the extra sustain with the 3 supports. You know EMP's gone, so what are you really worried about? Like, you don't have like a self-destruct combo, like,
you're worried about going too slow and letting RCK get another one.
Yeah, you're worried about just letting them farm for a bit, or getting hit with a big biotic grenade.
Sound barrier here. It's going to go a long way for the Philly Fusion, but Poco, oh, Blase! Oh, he drops in for 3. And the Fusion there, look, I mean, they had the sound barrier, that helped him at the start of the fight, but Boston, all they had to do was nano boost Blase and send him in there. Is that a fight you expect the team to win based on the ultimates going in?
No, not really. It seems like Fusion's just kind of like yelling across the stage. I think him and RCK talking about something right now. Maybe just trying to fix some audio there as see Fusion's looking underneath the desk. But I'm surprised you didn't see some changes from Philadelphia. Like, you could have, they kind of opened the door for you to play some different comps. Like, I would have loved to see like even Carpe Widowmaker there against them, right? There's no Diva to chase him on the high ground, no Winston and Doomfist are a pretty nice target for Widowmakers, so you could have played some different things for the Fusion, but they opt to stay with their triple tank, triple support.
And that has been the hallmark of Philadelphia Fusion for pretty much this entire season. They worked really hard on getting their 3-3 ready, because I think it was maybe a less natural transition for them as a roster, especially putting Carpe on the Zarya, which he played before, but took him off, definitely a big role, and putting EQ on the brig, changing the calling structure to accommodate for that and all the rest. So I get it. You work so hard on getting this composition set up. You're unlikely to want to switch away at the first win, but this man, Blase, has been blaséing a trail for DPS. Charging on in there with a Doomfist. Neptuno will try and keep him out of the fight for as long as he's able.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of Doomfist players use those type of rollout combos. Ooh, he gets pooped up into the side.
He's bad.
Seismic Slam. Use the Rocket Punch to get away.
How is he still alive? He's at 25 health in enemy territory, and Philly either didn't have the bandwidth or the capacity to turn around and do something about it. Sato, wild charging on towards the point. He'll be knocked back. Carpe at an off angle, looks very charged up, but Blase be chill, and he said, feel free, step onto the point, step into my house of horrors.
I mean, this is where teams, like a lot of the times you'll see them run like the Winston version of the 3-3 when they're having some of these damage dealers come out, but the Boston Uprising, they get an EMP, they get a Meteor Strike now, Graviton Surge as well. I mean, even if you were Philly, you could run Sombra Goats here, and when is Kellex using Barrier? Like, you would just, and then they have no other sustain ultimate, so you're just forcing them to fight without Sound Barrier a lot of the time. But they're opting to just continue to run this for whatever reason.
RCK attempting a hack there, interrupted very early on. So fancy hanging around and getting burst out. Neptuno goes for the chase. RCK says, stay here. I'm going to hack you, and then I'm going to go and deal with the rest of your team. Poker, though, is able to get purged there. Again, first pick for him. Fusion's down. And Blase wants to hang around. Yeah, no,
I wasn't sure.
You're not allowed in the pool.
So that time, Boombox was able to not get hit by the EMP, did a nice job hiding, able to get the Transcendence off, so that helped keep everybody alive. Same with EQO's rallies. So you combo those two ultimates, you get the point back, but 57% to the Boston Uprising. They have grab, so you could grab here. That maybe forces out the grab from Carpe, maybe even Sound Barrier from Neptuno. And then you come back in another fight with an EMP. You're in a good spot if you're Boston then. So probably even on the clock in terms of point percentage.
Poco was hacked there, and I thought that might have been a window for a Graviton Surge to come out, but RCK has gone down. Poco's picked him off, and then they push on. RCK was just playing around the flank, or attempting to at least. Poco just picked him up, and Boston Uprising, it's a failure to launch in the last couple of fights where they've really had the tools to actually make a brawl of it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe now you nano boost fusions, you get aggressive behind that, get them to Sound Barrier at least, and then you can drop your grab down. So that would result in a combo where you could potentially win the fight. As Neptuno playing on the high ground, just trying to scout a little bit.
Poco's off to the right. You see him there at the top of your screen. He's looking out for RCK, trying to prevent any hacks there. Fusions and Color Hex both got rolled by the shatter from Sato. The nano booster had to be used here. Where does this Meteor Strike go? A lot of shields to mitigate this damage here, so there won't really be any, but it's more about the mobility for Blase. Getting back towards his team now with the Seismic Slam, and the EMP connects onto Ward 3, but Boombox is still able to get the Transcendence out. Here's the grab. Philly are facing everything from the Uprising. Now Boston had to use all of their big ultimates, and they've gotten 2 here, but yeah, it looks like the fight's done, and Philly are packing bags.
I mean, it's a lot. I mean, they have to use everything. So instead of nanoing fusions to force out Sound Barrier and start the fight, they actually use the nano onto the Doomfist. Again, they use that to start the fight off, and you know, RCK gets another EMP off. Boombox able to get Transcendence off in time, though. I mean, it was like right around the corner. It was pretty telegraphed with the Translocator coming up through the sky.
I think also with Poco constantly watching where RCK is and spy checking him, they probably had a bit of lead-up information. Blase drops in, though. This one would have been hard to read. Gets out very quickly as soon as he sees the Zarya bubble being expended, which is a good sign. It means the Fusions can get aggressive on Sato, but the Philadelphia Fusion take the fight to him. It's a 1-for-1 trade. This time Boombox is actually the first support down, and Sato will be removed. The healing cut drastically. A 2-for-2 trade, though, and now in a 4v4, RCK gets a 3-player EMP. And there it is, set up on the point there. Blase causing so much chaos, and the Philadelphia Fusion was stunned, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, that time 2 hacks from RCK, both of them on Sato. The first one to force the rally, a lot of the resources on Sato to keep him up. Second one, they were able to take Sato out by the point, help set up the Boston hold. They take map number 1. We'll see if they can win map number 2 after this.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Assist of the Week, presented by State Farm. The Guangzhou Charge were coming up against the Chengdu Hunters in Game 1 of their set when Rio hit around the corner waiting for the right opportunity to ult. As soon as Hotba threw in D.Va's mech, Rio charged in and set up the triple kill.
This man on your screen at 20 years old, Blase, one of a good example of the scouting that the Boston Uprising organization has done to find great players in the Tier 2 scene. I mean, back in 2016, Blase was playing on a team with Banning. These guys all came from pretty humble beginnings, but now we're starting to get to see Blase play a bit more DPS and less of the Brigitte, and you can just see how much more of an impact he can have.
Yeah, and I think you see the strength of like a Sombra Doomfist composition. It almost kind of brings you back to Overwatch World Cup. A lot of teams playing like Sombra Doom, different types of dive compositions around that. Paris up next. Don't really know what you'll see on Paris from the Boston Uprising. Do you see the Sombra Doom again? It's not like a great map attacking for it, right? Because the other team has that high ground right in the choke. It's not like a high ground's a little bit further back. It's right in the choke, so you can run a lot of bunkers. Interesting looks.
Fusion's big Wrecking Ball fan as well. Might be something we see here. Philly, I mean, Okay, so we see this a bit on Vosgaia. Teams opting for a Winston-based 3-3 defense. Maybe not as robust. It really depends who you ask. I guess there's like a bunker composition. Although it matches up okay with this DPS offering, surely.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Boston and you see this, do you consider running like
Ryan
3-3? I mean, what Boston's running now is pretty good against bunker. It's also pretty good against this type of stuff where you can't leave the Widowmaker uncontested in the back, so that kind of forces Sato to make a decision.
Widow now has sight lines. Colorhex just moved into position, right where you can see Sato diving. That's what they're trying to get rid of. Colorhex there. Poco hacked, desuited. That's going to get tough now. Colorhex, a bit more potential to do damage now, and Poco obviously getting removed after the desuit.
I mean, now it's just on Sato.
He can't get to Colorhex.
Yeah.
He's used 2 rocket jumps to try and reach Colorhex. He's just grappled away.
And if he doesn't get the color hex, then what? They just stand on the point and just get picked off. Like,
where is Poco during all this?
Poco gets demexed and he gets killed at the beginning, so they don't have Poco in this scenario.
So that then all that can be done. Sato has to chase down the DPS on his own without his diva. That's rough. Losing Poco early there meant that Philly didn't have the mobility to counter Boston's comp.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have the defense matrix, and usually when you have to dive like that, you have to like kind of use the matrix to protect the Winston, or if the damage is like not as good, right, you can actually just kind of save the defense matrix, save your shift ability, like to be able to fly as D.Va, and then meet the Widow at the point of grapple. Now Boston changes because, well, look at this. I mean, they have an ultimate advantage across the board because the first fight goes so quick.
Yeah.
You have an EMP to use here and a nano boost you can use on the fusions. You could potentially, snowball it.
I mean, Boston have an almost perfect counter composition here. The Reinhardt for the Winston, the Sombra into the 3-3, and an EMP on 5 people. What now? That's what we asked the Philadelphia Fusion. Sato worked down first. Neptuno currently hacked, but can't really do too much to escape Colorhex. He's not very charged. Was in a good enough position to put pressure on, but they probably really wanted to get that kill. Fusion's given a bubble now, given everything. In fact, his shield is low, but Poco is here to cause some problems. He is stunned, though, as he tries to make his way across the arch. Carp is able to pick off RCK, but RCK's already done damage. He got that EMP off. However, the Philly Fusion are able to spring back here. Carpe with 3 kills already. Nice recovery.
Yeah, and the reason why there is because Boombox hits a big biotic grenade on the Fusions, which when you have the effects of the anti-heal, you can't get that big burst heal from the nano boost. So Persia holds on to the nano boost for so long, that if he doesn't use it at the final moment, even with the effects of the biotic grenade where Fusions can't get healing, you're not going to have him live. So they use the nano boost to use damage reduction. He falls back. Then they use a biotic grenade of their own to keep him up. If you'd have got that nano boost more offensively, it could have been different.
Boston, it was almost like they baited that bubble out of Carpe there. They disengaged quickly. And now here's going to be the Graviton surge from Philly. They want to end the fight now, and that is a very effective biotic grenade.
Yeah, I mean, you're fine with this if you're Boston. I mean, you have a ton of time. And you're really just playing around that EMP. You need to farm up this EMP. By the time you get EMP, you probably have grab. You're getting closer to sound barrier at least. So you're in a position where you can win a fight. I mean, the previous fight, the first one, they could have won that. I think it was just a good biotic grenade that came down from Boombox. But that one right there, you end up just saving everything. The grab's gone. You know that. You can come back in this fight stronger.
See if Boston do this again. They baited the dive from Sato and the bubble from Carpe last time. This time they're Philly Fusion giving them a lot more room. I think Philly know like they don't have the grab anymore, so there's no point playing inside close quarters. You want to feed the enemy team through a choke if you're trying to get an effective grab on multiple people. In this case, it's going to be about the Primal Rage, splitting them up. That's what Sato's going to be trying to do in this fight. The Boston Uprising are daring the Fusion in the fight. As they come at us now, EMP combo with the Shatter. Yeah, it's not nice. But Neptuno's going to come in with a sound barrier here. Fusions is knocked off course, and Sato's taking a lot of damage, but still able to displace somewhat through this Primal Rage. Sato is taken down eventually, though, and the Philly Fusion have to duel with 5. Riley is active currently from EQO. Put the being shuttled off the point. Poco's trying to harass the Boston Uprising from behind, but Colorhex just turns around and says, hey, this 80 charge, it's all yours. Just pummels it into the D.Va mech. EQO, well, if EQO is getting his RU bubble, you know things are getting pretty desperate now. Carpe trying to push forward. He managed to get Blase, but they lost Sato for a second time in this fight. Now a Transcendence on the point means that the Boston Uprising really have everything they need. Credit to Carpe. He waits out the Transcendence, then goes for the grab, but RCK has another EMP, but it doesn't matter. Lost Fusions, Carpe traded out. There is the recovery from Philly. say what you like about this composition from Philly, but it is robust, the 3-3, and the recovery was very good. Carpe waiting for that Transcendence to finish. Big brain.
Yeah, and it was also another biotic grenade that came down from Boombox. While Fusions and Kellex were in the grab, you know, the follow-up, they don't have a ton of damage there, but the follow-up's just enough when those players can't receive healing to be able to win it. RCK now switches over to D.Va, so
okay.
This also will potentially force Boombox after Nano to switch over to Zen. So,
But hey,
like the Ana against the Sombra.
I think you like the Ana here in a situation where Sato doesn't have Earth Shatter yet. So you throw him that Nano Boost, farm up another Shatter as quickly as you can. And yeah, 52% by the way. He was at 13 just a moment ago, and that's what you want to do for your Reinhardt. Get him in position then to win a fight, and in the space of one engagement, he's gone from about 10% to 98. That's about what you expect from the Nano Boost here. That's about the best you can hope for. Boombox, though, hasn't gone back to spawn yet. He hasn't switched, so we'll see how this plays out here. Sato trying to block down one. EQO, Boombox, Carpe getting stunned up by the Brig of Blase, and that's rough. Sato definitely needed to get an earlier shatter, but he was playing more reactively, and it looks like it's cost the Fusion now. Neptuno will be finally focused down on the point. The Boston Uprising do finish the map. Definitely a sense of relief there as they were forced off the Sombra comp.
Well, when Philly used the Nano Boost, they also used Rally, and Boston, they just backed up, they disengaged, they came back with their own Rally, and they're able to take the point. We'll see Philly's attack after this.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Nice.
High fives.
Good job, boys. Go, guys.
Pressure.
Guys, keep calm. We did a really good job up until a certain point, but a couple of bit of panicky situations, okay? We don't need to panic. Just keep calm, play it like scrims.
Yeah, Fusion's definitely looking for a win here as the Boston Uprising. He's giving out his thoughts while Kellex is there doing his ninja jutsu, but the message is still the same. Calm down. We made a couple mistakes. They have 1 minute 50 on the clock after finishing the map, so
Could have been way better. Philly definitely bounces back. I thought Boombox with a bunch of big biotic grenades.
great recoveries, didn't they?
Yeah, it's just at the end there. They end up using Nano and Rally, and Boston realized it. They just back up, then take advantage, because they do have the effects of obviously Transcendence in there, which the Nano versus Transcendence, it's not like a Nano boost is a huge defensive ultimate. Transcendence gets a lot of value on the point.
Quite a few very talented Finnish players are making their way in towards the league. RCK was definitely a player that we expected to see make an impact on this team because he had that Sombra potential. He was forced to switch to D.Va at the end of the last round, but Boston Uprising, they go for what we could probably call it Tabanka comp? Yeah. You're going to have two supports.
I want to see Philly play DPS against this. I want to see them make the changes here.
What about...
Good, okay, this is what I like to see. So you get Boombox on the Ana.
Sombra Genji.
So Sombra Genji dive here from the Philly Fusion.
It's fascinating.
Neptuno flexing over to the Zenyatta. Oh, no, never mind. Gonna go to Lucia, so. I was like, this is interesting from Neptune. They're gonna go play Zenyatta, but nope. He'll play Lucio. You need the speed to get through the choke. The dive needs to be perfect here. They gotta also focus down the immortality field too.
So that's the first step. Defense matrix from Poco to let EQO get into this left side building and try and get some eyes on the enemy Widowmaker and start to approach. Now, RCK has moved into position to try and stop EQO from having easy access to that back left corner of the point. There's no hurry here for Philly.
The tactical approach. So you have the infra site now, so nobody's being that sneaky. They know exactly where Carpe is too. Just all those free shots that Color Hex is getting off in the back, paying off here.
He's playing fairly safely, to be honest, between this position and the actual main platform. He needed a couple more hits on the tank, so now they haven't taken nearly enough damage before they get to the fight. Sardo nano boosted. Look, didn't have much help there, did he? Kelex's immortality field was taken down, and Blase is felled. Philly hoping for a little bit more than that.
The Widow.
Yeah, the Widow.
Nobody's even close. And they can't really get close because there's so much damage and so much like sustain on this high ground with the Orisa, the Diva, the Bastion as well. They want to push out and try and get some of these picks to get the trades off as they're able to connect with Boombox. So now you don't have that on a heal. It's going to be a Primal Rage from Sato. They're finally able to deal with the Widow.
They spent so much on him. Kalex already got given a solo biotic grenade from Persia to keep him alive. And it's worked out. The dive was good. Sato managed to access that Widow and pick it off.
I think Persia nano boosted Kelex there as Kelex was about to die. And now they don't have the nano. I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe they're going to switch off. Maybe they don't exactly want it. But I mean, at this rate, though, Philly, they'll be able to play around a EMP nano blade combination, which is phenomenal to have. I mean, what are you going to have to support against this? I mean, what, you're going to have the immortality?
You do not have defensive ultimates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice, I guess, of combination. I get it. Two longer range healers that can, stay away from the front line, which wants to absorb a lot of these tanks from Philly, but the dive will still get them. I mean, both of these supports are quite susceptible to dive in general. Neither of them have a lot of mobility. I mean, Kelex on the Batiste has vertical mobility. He can jump up, but doesn't really help you.
No transcendence, no sound barrier, and you can see how Philly's playing it. I mean, they're sitting around, okay, Boombox has nano, here's the time to go.
If they get hit by EMP properly, they are toast.
Carpe's coming in. There it is. Nano blade, boom.
So they only get Blase infusions, and Kelex is still able to get an immortality field out there, but there's plenty of Dragon Blade left to go around, and EQO gets Persia infusions. Now to chase down RCK, and it really seems like an open and shut case there. Boston Uprising didn't seem like they have the ultimates to contest with that. The immortality field was a temporary solution, but no permanence about it whatsoever. Fusions can't touch the point.
Yeah, and the self-destruct from Poco there just to deter if anyone would have came to the point. Would have been blown up by that good Nano Blade EMP combo from the Philly Fusion. 4 minutes in the bank. We'll see if they can hold off to win map 2.
I thought the Boston Uprising were the ones that were very methodical on the attack, at least on point A, but Philly come up with a Genji Sombra-based composition. They're actually able to break the 2-2-2 bunker that Boston bring, but I have to say, Ana plus Batiste is the interesting combo when it comes to those big team fights.
Well, I think they were in a bad spot. I mean, they would not have built up to Transcendence there towards the end unless they get like an early pick or something like that. And once that EMP is good from Carpe, it's kind of game over at that point. So Philly on defense, they will be playing triple tank solo healer with Neptuno on Mercy. Boombox going to flex over and play some Roadhog. So Carpe will be on the Sombra.
Complete switch for Philly.
Let's see if the Boston Uprising decides to change. Boston could end up playing They have triple tank, triple support here if they want. A lot of players going back to the spawn, making some changes. So interesting, Blase plays Hanzo, and then Color Hex now opts over to play the Pharah. So they just kind of swap out the Widowmaker here in case.
EQO pretty safe here unless Blaze's able to pressure him down. Obviously Color Hex is also an issue. Both Pharahs have Mercies to work with them. Color Hex needs to be a little careful. Boombox can pretty much within his range for a hook. Here comes Fusions, and again, Roadhog can be pretty deadly to that Wrecking Ball. That hook is a long period of crowd control, long stun essentially.
The positive here for the Boston Uprising is you have that extra support in play. Like the Biotic Grenade can be devastating against like the Roadhog or Orisa. You just have don't have Neptuno anymore as Blase connects with a headshot, takes out the Mercy.
I wonder where Neptuno was, because at that time, EQO was actually on the ground.
He was over by the point near the ground.
Yeah, so, I mean, when he's on the ground, that means Neptuno can't really stay airborne for much longer either. He probably had to touch down himself. Big pick off for the Boston Uprising, and Philly now just have to wait. Look for a pick set up, try and at least prevent the point getting taken in its entirety, but they're having that opportunity taken away from them now. Fusions delving deep, as was RCK. He'll go down to Carpe, but it's too risky for Philly to contest any further. Let's have a look at this one from Blase.
Take a look from his POV.
No.
Just
Be seated promptly! Neptuno. And that'll do it for you sometimes.
So
Hanzo, yeah.
Boston changes, 30 seconds to go. Color Hex will go over to Zarya. Ryan Zarya breaks switch up. You get the nano boost into play on the Fusions again with an EMP. This is kind of how they did it the last time.
Spy check. RCK has been revealed. Well, they probably have a good idea of where RCK is in terms of his EMP, but Carpe's going to get one first. RCK goes one. There are 10 people in this game who can't use their abilities. Okay, EQO take it down. I guess Boston just had the better EMP because they came second. They will clean up here in Philly. It's all fall apart. The look on Boombox's face right now as well, resigned to the fact that they're going to have to go again. Sitting on the point now, it will be EQO to step up. Stunned off the point, not happening. And the Boston Uprising get 4 checkpoints. They squeeze as much as they can out of their time bank, and they've got to be pleased with that, Matthew.
Yeah, the Brig switch is pretty big there towards the end. Brig can still be effective through that EMP. Neptuno not able to use Valkyrie, so couldn't get that ultimate off, get everybody topped up. He gets hacked as well. The only 2 players on the map who can actually use their abilities, Carpe and RCK, that moment in time. But I think having the Brig there towards the end, really good switches from Boston to, when they take that first point, immediately switch to Ryan Zarya Brig with that Sombra.
Look at that. No time left, which means that Philly have to finish the map now with the time that they have, which is conceivable, and then they need to get 1/3 of progress on their run-throughs. They're going to need to get 5 checkpoints here to win. And that probably annoys them, because with such a time bank, they could have done it on this run-through. And then there's also a risk that they get stopped in their tracks and straight up lose the map, which would be ridiculous.
We see that with Bunker, right? I mean, with the setup that Boston has. Look, Boston gets a few holds here, right?
Yep.
And they force out the EMP Nano Blade on this point, and then switch off of this, and then kind of reset the ultimate economy. They have a good chance of holding B.
Do you think this Boston composition is strictly bad against Dive? Like, do you think there's a better option for them here, or is this fine?
I think this is fine. I think it really creates an issue for some of the players on Philadelphia, because you have to deal with the Bastion, you also have to deal with the Widowmaker. You can play them in 2 completely different locations, so they're going to try the same approach where they get EQO here to the side, just try and poke. Color Hex playing a different angle this time.
It's almost like EQO just sits here to get Dragon Blade, and then he waits for Carpe to get EMP.
That's what they're playing
at the same time.
I mean, they're playing around. They're playing around how fast can we get Dragon Blade EMP Nano boost. The Nano you can build rather quickly. Some of the tanks just step out into that choke, get shot by the Bastion, come back on in.
Here's the dive, Sato. Well, that one ended pretty quickly.
Yep, defense matrix eats all that up.
Sato now getting healed quickly. Boston might want to push this now. Their opponents are weak, but only for a short window, and that has expired. The Philly Fusion have re-upped on the health. And now they've managed to gain some ground as well. They get past the first hurdle. Here's the second. Sato in once more. Bubble thrown down. EQO trying to prevent any healing coming from Persia. If any of the darts go into his hitbox, he'll be deflecting it. But Immortality Field is able to keep Boston pretty safe in the back lines. A lot of those squishy targets are made immortal.
They nano Sato here. Still trying to make a play.
Started now. What is he going to do with this nano boost though? A lot of defense matrix use. Oh my gosh, it's so difficult. Poco really had to keep his team protected there, but defense matrix is a very limited resource, and once it run out, Blase raid bullets down on.
They do get color hacked, so you're going to have to wait for the Widowmaker to come back, but this is just like, well, now you don't have the nano boost for EQO's Blade. EMP Blade, still a very devastating combination, though.
I feel like it's enough in and of itself. The thing is that both Persia and Kalex can still heal a lot while they're hacked.
Well, the only scary part is you go and use the Blade on like the Bastion and the Ana and the Batiste, and Color Hex plays an off angle and just hits a headshot, and then that ends that entire push. I mean,
right, Translocator has to be used by Carpe to cross this picket line. EQO's waiting, but he's getting harassed here on the side by RCK. With Blase now getting this ultimate, I think this is disrupted Philly's setup, Matt. I think they were hoping to go for something, and just when they're about to pull the trigger, Blase beats him to it.
And they use the Amp Matrix here as well, so they're going to back up here, Boston. And they're interesting. They're going to play just Fusions and Blase on the bridge. They're trying to bait those two players in to getting EMP. They throw the self-destruct over the top. It's not enough on the defensive side.
Well, the Hex, he's in danger. Trying to get away, but no, he's not going to make it. Poco will be able to finish him off. And that's it, the EMP Blade combo. Even with that nano boost, Matt, it did its job, especially when Sato was in the mix.
You're still dwindling clock here, though. You're Boston. You can't be too upset with this.
No way. I mean, you've shaved about 2.5 minutes off the clock here for Philly, if not more. In fact, more than that. So you're pleased, and now you really try and put the stop here on the second point. Here's the switch, by the way. So they do switch at least one. No. Okay, they go back with the same support setup, but they sort of switched. I think they lost ult %, but that's by the by. Why Tracer here?
They're changing. Okay. Yep. Won't be surprised. Yep, Fusion's going to go play Reinhardt. Yep, this is the right move. If you are the Boston Uprising, you're just staying on the Ana here. If you're Philly, because you have the nano boost, so you think you can build up this shatter way faster.
Yeah, I mean, you hard reset as Boston. Everybody except RCK switched.
But you win one fight, though.
There's got to be defensive self-destruct here from RCK to stave off Sato, who's going to be coming forward with the nano. And like you said, he's going to be looking to try and farm up a bit.
You can give up a tick.
What about 2? What about 3 ticks? How do you feel about that one?
Don't feel good about that.
Boston Uprising now. Step up to the point. Neutral charge. There, a sound barrier for the Philly Fusion. Blase is down, and that self-destruct over the top doesn't find much. RCK was trying to slow the Fusion down, but they will not be denied. Fusions in the corner now. Shield, bubble, everything thrown at him, and it's still not enough to keep him on his feet. Now the Transcendence comes in. Persia got that in the space of one fight. It's a big credit to the man. And now Calahex is going to come in with a Graviton Surge, but it's too late in the day. There wasn't enough follow-up damage to make the grab worthwhile. Blase eventually is going to be ground down by Carpe, and RCK is just trying to make himself scarce, try and stay alive. Shatter from us, Sato, should I say, went about as far as Timbuktu and about as close to anyone in particular, but it doesn't matter. The Boston Uprising are going to be shunted off here, but that clock is still dwindling. If Boston can get Philly down to 0, it will be big. Don't think that's going to be possible, but still, somehow, the Boston Uprising managed to shave enough time off the clock here to make things really interesting after this, Matt.
Yeah, the nano boost from Boombox is the difference, though. Having that ultimate to kick the fight off. We'll go into extra innings yet again here with Boston and Philly right after this break.
Credit to Boston Uprising. Managing to grind Philly's time bank now under 1 minute means that they themselves get a time extension. So now they go up to 1 minute, Philly go up to 1:13. So, I mean, that defensive effort from Boston has put themselves now in a position where they can steal this map away when they were 3 minutes behind on time bank. Great stuff.
You know, Boston just gets one fight to go their way there on defense. They win this map.
Hey, draw here's not bad for Boston either.
No, I mean, yeah, going up 1-0 in the series, and then, you know, going up 1-0 in the half, but don't feel too bad about that. We'll see How it plays out though, Philly on defense yet again, going with the solo heals. Neptuno on the Mercy, Boombox going over from Flex support over to Roadhog, little jump over the building. They go back and they switch over to Honda, so no Widow here on offense.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, actually RCK attacked,
Yeah.
same with Poco.
Philly have allowed Boston, though, to get so deep here. Oh, RCK, though, wasn't in position to help Fusions. He was way late. Must be frustrating for him now, and that was kind of supposed to be the push.
He was in a little bit of a position, but Carpe does a nice job getting back there with Poco and helping him out as well. You lose Persia here. Just gonna have to get a touch. RCK in the back. He's gonna be able to get a touch here.
Hold out a little longer.
Philly now, bated breath. They wait for the next 4-8. Okay. You want to hit those. That might have been the end of Fusions there. If he'd connected that chain hook, but now the Philly Fusion have to rotate back to the point. Fusions is attempting to capture. He's currently hacked, so he can't turn it to the ball. And Persia is just leapt upon there as he tried to make his way through. Boston had to split their team up, and Persia doesn't have rocket boosters. He doesn't have wings. He can't follow the rest of his team in. Philly know that, and they capitalize.
So they leave these supports at the choke. That's like the downside of playing Mercy on the offense there, is that like the Mercy and the Ana just kind of get stuck. So I wonder what Philly decides to play on offense. With only 1 minute and 13 on the clock, I don't think you have enough time to farm Dragon Blade, EUP, play around that. I think you have to play something different.
Currently, everybody on Philly looking down the line, and I believe it's EQO. So they are discussing how they're going to...
Probably waiting for him to make a call, and for him, it's like a difficult call. Well, the 2 times we've taken this, we've run the dive with the Sombra and the Genji. I don't know if you can do that here. So they may play their defensive comp here on offense and try and poke a bit, but you know, you're not going to win the shield war when the other team has Bastion and Orisa. I mean, you do have some extra shield damage coming in with the Roadhog. You know, you have good shield pressure with D.Va, Orisa as well, but you know, the Bastion plus Immortality just does a ton of damage. Carpe maybe hits a crazy shot.
I told you about the double sniper setup that Philly were kind of known for. This is kind of exactly it, actually. The classic sort of end of season 1 style that works so well for them. I'll be very excited if we get to see this again from Philly. Oh, come on! Out of the gates they go. Let's see what the Boston Uprising do. They have shield pressure in spades. Storm Arrow from EQO. Boombox's scrap gun. They need to find a pig. That's what this composition hinges on. Carla Hex will be looking out for enemy snipers. And, well, Philly snipers have an innate disadvantage against Color Hex, who'll be sitting behind a shield most of the time. What about Pika's advantage? It makes a difference. Boston give a lot of space. Look at them. They're allowing Philly to...
They're wrapping the point. I mean, this gives some angles for Philly to work with.
They've gained this ground without loss of fight, which is more than you can say for Boston.
And so they have these 3 players on the point, the Orisa, the D.Va, and the Bastion, but they have everybody else in that small right side room. It's like a horror, like you could just get a halt and a hook in there and you're in trouble.
Carpe just needs one pick.
These angles aren't good. They get the halt and the hook onto Kellex, but the Immortality saves him.
It's taken down though. Carpe v Color Hex, that's quite a battle. RCK in position here just to take a lot of free damage, but he's been kept healed up by Kellex. Zato's down though. The Philly Fusion is trying to make a decision. It's time to face the music, but they have to pressure on a Boston who are sat very comfortably in the small alcove, and another Immortality field is thrown up. Poco's mech is taken down. Philly have the touchdown, but they're halted into the middle, and EQO takes a huge amount of damage. Poco off to the side. Boombox, it's divide and conquer, and Boston, they look very good at it. Tank mode configuration for Blase, but he's knocked off at the edge here. Color Hex has gone down towards Carpe. It's just Sato and Carpe right now, just the 2 of them. Self-destruct from RCK. Sato's able to avoid it for the time being, but he's halted off the point. And the draw on this map is so good for Boston. They only need to win 1 more map out of the next 2. Pressure now on for Philly, Matt.
And Philly actually got some action that looked good there. They forced him in the side room. They get a halt and a hook combo, but Kellex saves himself barely with the Immortality build. He doesn't save himself there. Philly takes this map.
At the end of the day, the onus was on Philly to come up with the answer. Half-time in just a moment.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right.
Let them up.
Boston's trying to bounce back from a tough loss to the Outlaws on Friday, and they're off to a pretty good start of 1-0 over the Fusion going into the half. What's up, everybody? Malik back with Zoe and Bryn once again. Guys, I feel like doing a victory dance right now because
Go ahead.
we got
What's
some
stopping you?
No, not right now.
I almost got to.
I'm gonna wait till the game's over. I'm gonna let it pan out. But guys, we got something other than goats this match. We got lots of DPS play. How you guys feeling about that first half?
Oh, I'm loving it.
I'm thrilled. Yeah,
I'm loving it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We got a glimpse of the first map already with Blase on that Doomfist. That got us excited. But then heading into Paris, we're seeing some really beautifully executed dive. We see some 2-2-2. We see some triple DPS. Like, this match had it all, and I couldn't be happier.
This was sick though, right? Because for the longest time, I was saying, you know, Blaster's got a pretty good Doomfist on him. RCK can play Sombra to a reasonable degree. Why don't they just try the composition that was popularized by Element Mystic, a team in Korean contenders, where they combine the two along with this
Space Jam.
You know, they run the 2-2-2, and they were just rolling with it. I mean, the power of this comp is just chaotic, right? You're just stunning people, you're hacking people all over the place, and if you're not used to playing against it, it can be devastating, as we saw in this first map.
Yeah, it's really hard for the main tank, for example, to really know where he needs to focus on. Blase with the Doomfist, so much pressure in the front line. Then we have RCK Sombra in the backline wrecking havoc. And here again, Blase on the Pharah, also excellent. However, EQO was really my standout player of this match. He had some great plays on that Genji. We saw some fantastic nanoblade combos coming out of him, so I was thrilled.
I missed that old EQO playing Genji.
I know, right?
Third most Dragon Blades in 2018. There you go, a little statistic for you. Read that one off a graphic earlier. Had that stored up in the old noggin. But it was, yeah, all in all, I mean, it's these teams playing to their strengths. There was a little bit of triple tank, triple support, but across the board, I'm liking it, what I'm seeing, honestly. The bunker comps into the DPS, they're trying to break it using the spam. But it was a fantastic showing, I think, from Boston Uprising as well, because again, you're experimenting with the flexibility that's available to you, which is what we were always looking for when RCK joined this roster. Right. And they traded him for Note over to the Dallas Fuel. This is what they're using now. They're using a lot of this flexibility they have to create these wacky compositions that are going to throw teams off.
Right, indeed, man. I'm loving it. I'm loving it all. All right, well, guys, we've got a great match between two historic East Coast cities with rich culture, including amazing food. Now, these two last week with Custa were giving me some hell about, you know, our bread, talking about, you know, American bread. And as the only American, you know, representing here on the desk, I think it's time to school you guys about some of the team's best dishes. You guys ready?
No,
you guys ready to do that?
Not at all.
I mean, yeah. Are you just going to read off dishes for us? So how is this?
Yeah, I'm going to read a dish, and you tell me, is it from Philly or Boston?
And we take turns in doing it?
Yeah, simple as that.
Okay.
All right, we're going to start with you, Brent, all right?
Okay.
Scrapple.
You what?
Oh, I
Say
know that
again.
one. Do I get a point if I know his?
Yes.
Say that again.
Scrapple.
Scrapple. I mean, it's 50-50. I got to guess anyway.
Go ahead.
Philly.
That's
yes.
correct.
You know
That's
what
correct.
it is, though?
No.
Fantastic
All right.
breakfast.
Give it up for
Nothing
Brent, guys.
else.
He gets one. All right, moving on.
All right.
Clam chowder. Zoe.
Boston. No.
No, that's right. That's right.
I was gonna say.
No clue.
all right.
It's a 50-50, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It is
You don't
50-50.
know.
Oh, that was a guess?
Yeah, that was a good.
But like, yeah, I would have said clam chowder as well. You know, Boston. I think at some point they threw the T, the RT, in like
in a
harbor,
river or
bay
a harbor.
There's going to be water there. Where there's water, there's clams. You know, so it's like
That was my thinking. Yeah.
No. All right.
Well, power of
Next,
deduction.
Brent. Baked beans.
Baked beans, the UK.
Yeah, absolutely, England.
No.
England. Yeah, I guess
No.
England invented
No,
that.
that's not right.
I'm not gonna lie, we invented that. Like that's the thing, you know.
No. So you get a chance to steal.
Well,
50-50. It's just a flip a coin.
well, I guess Boston.
That's right. That is correct.
Yay, I totally
All
did
right.
guess.
2 for Zoe. 1 for Brent. Next, Zoe. Tasty cakes.
That's Philadelphia.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Kill it, you're actually
Wow,
killing it.
Zoe, smoking
Yeah.
hot here. All right. Brent,
Just eating more, I guess.
you ready?
I'm ready.
Water, ice.
What?
Water ice.
Like
Yes.
ice or ice?
Ice.
Ice.
Yes.
Water ice.
Water,
I don't think
ice.
I don't think America invented any of that. I don't think you can claim
Philly?
water and ice.
That's correct, actually. You got it right.
What is
Philly,
it?
I know
You got
Philly
it.
gets
That's-
cold. I
What
hear
is
the
it,
word
though?
ice.
I don't know.
It's just ice?
I don't know. They put it on the
What
card
is
and I'll read it, bro. I don't know. Serious? All right, next. Zoe, lobster roll. Lobster roll.
Okay,
Gotta
lob
be
over
near the
there.
sea,
Okay,
right?
I guess we're in Philly then.
That is incorrect.
Oh, come on. Okay, so they have the clams, but they don't have lobster. Is that how this
How does
works?
that make sense?
That makes no sense.
It makes no sense to
Thank
me.
you. Thank you. Why are you digging this?
All right, last but not least, this one's for you, Bran. Roast pork and broccoli Rob sandwiches.
Philly.
That's correct.
Is Philly like the sandwich
Philly's
city
known
of
for
the
the
I mean,
U.S.?
yeah,
That's all I know.
Can you have like hoagies and Philly
That's what I would have guessed too. All
cheesesteak?
right, everybody give it up. They
All
did
right.
good.
Who
They did a
won?
good job.
I don't
Who
know.
won
Give it up for these two.
I think we both the loser of this one.
I saw it one by one, but you know who counts?
Yes.
Who's counting?
I'm definitely counting.
Where's
All right,
Boston
get
on
that
the
out of
map?
here.
Where's Boston on the map? It's right on the
West Coast?
East Coast.
East Coast?
East Coast. He actually said it in the intro. That's why I know.
We'll talk more about geography later, but guys, let's get a little bit back into the match. Coming up, we have Hollywood. Who do you think that map favors between these two teams?
That's like with the food, right? It's 50-50.
No, but in all seriousness, that was what this game was in my mind. I think
Yeah.
it came down to a coin flip between these two teams.
Yeah.
Boston seemed to be, they've got their head in the game this time around. They're playing to their strengths a lot more. They're running compositions that actually work for them. Hollywood, in my mind as well, fits the Sombra Doomfist quite effectively, honestly, as well. In terms of, it's quite choke point, is it intros, a lot of high ground in the second point. I would give the edge to Boston, at least for map 3. So
Right.
for Hollywood.
All right, bring going with Boston. I can go for some more Space Jam. You know, some grab, meteor strike combos. I'm with it. All right, guys, we got another half to go. Boston's up 1-0, and all they need is one map to get their first win of the stage. Will they be able to pull it off? We're gonna find out in just a bit. Stay tuned.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
That's it. Get your Overwatch League Grand Finals tickets. Wells Fargo Center. I was there last time I was in Philly, actually.
Yeah.
Great venue. It's going to be absolutely lit when it comes to those Grand Finals. Tickets are on sale right now. Overwatchleague.com. Get them.
It's going to be awesome. I mean, like how awesome last year Barclays was. Like I think this year it's just going to be even hyper.
That's right. And I was only seeing Travis Scott there. Just wait till the Overwatch League is there. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be hectic.
Well, let's get Travis Scott there as well.
No, you know,
let's make it happen.
Easy done. I mean, interesting match so far between Philly and Boston. Bit of an East Coast stash. I get why Bren maybe wasn't too clear about some of those foods, having not been out there before, but I have to recommend Faneuil Hall, get some chowder, and then go to Mike's Cannoli. Boston is a fantastic city. Really lovely. I enjoyed Philly, but right now, Philly need to win the next 2 maps.
Yeah, Philly, they need to make the comeback here. Boston, I think this is, the first half's huge for them. And they get the draw on map number 2, which doesn't seem like it's massive. But considering about how poor like they've been playing as of late, the little piece we played earlier where Fusion's like slamming the desk, they needed something to go their way. The first 2 maps definitely favor them.
Philly kind of need that as well, to be honest. Currently at 8-8, so they're 500 right now, and that's where they want to at least stay. But what this draw does, it means that if Boston win 1 more out of the next 2 maps, they win the series, because there frankly just aren't enough maps left in the 4-map set for Philly to even a score. So that's brutal. It means Philly have to now take it up another gear mat and just hold out.
So this is something I like to see. We have not seen it that often, is where both teams end up playing Sombra goats against each other. Sombra on the defense, Sombra on the offense. So looks like Boston.
We saw this on Blizzard World last stage a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
We saw it like Boston versus Hangzhou. That was one match where they did a ton. Godsby versus RCK over and over and over again.
The big thing is like if a Sombra can get a hack onto another Sombra, like maybe you're able to take that player out real quick and then push up and try and make a play. But
they can't translocate away when they're hacked, so the rest of your team can turn on them.
And both of them are like kind of looking for each other now. RCK is behind enemy lines. Carpe knows that. Both players trying to lurk, find each other. Oh, RCK almost got a hack there off on Carpe.
Boston don't have a lot of space here though. Sato, knocked to the ground. Could be in trouble. Both the infusions are very low, so they trade out main tanks. But it's Blase falling after the fact. It should be a little bit more concerning for Boston. And Telex follows. That's 2 supports down.
Yeah, Carpe doing work. I mean, you see 85% to his EMP and counting RCK only about halfway there. On the defensive side, you can control both of those health packs. Just a little bit of an extra boost, right? Denying some of the health pack farm that you can get. You remember a very long time ago, Sombra used to get
ult charge from that. Yeah. She used to get ult charge from other players using her hack health packs. That was awesome. Well, I mean, depends what side of the Sombra you were on, I guess. So Philly, that's big for them, right? I mean, like,
look, you get in front of you get in front of the ult charge of the EMP. You can use it here. Everybody's locked up.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt. That really hurts, and there's no way you're coming back from that. Matt, tell me about the attacking Ana from Boston. Is that not a bit strange? Would you not expect to see Zenyatta here?
Well, you like the Ana against Sombra. You're able to obviously connect with like a sleep dart or whatnot, and then if you do get hacked, the biotic grenade could potentially save you from that. Just get that biotic grenade down, whether it's or even like, let's say you see one player, like there are much less chances to deter you, like to run at you when they EMP, and then let's say you nano your Reinhardt, for instance. Like, you're not going to be able to just run in there and nano Brig.
Maybe Fusions gets a bit more love with an Ana in the team, or those nano boosts. Sato doesn't have an equivalent, so maybe it's hard to sort of match him in the case of Nano. But I mean, you love to be where Poker is right now. On the high ground, he's playing Zarya, by the way, so that's a big sub there. And a shadow, that's big. Carl Hex and Persia both get hit. No nano boost. Kellex down early, and Persia following after. That is brutal. However, they use both their grab and their shatter in that fight.
It's way harder for RCK connect with a big EMP though than like Carpe. Carpe already working towards a second EMP.
What, is that because Philly is split though over the front high ground and the back?
Just think about on Hollywood on D how much area there is for like Boombox or Neptuno to high.
Yeah.
Like a lot of staircases, high ground, you can connect with one. Look, you connect with Boombox, but then all they do is just drop to the point. Oh, nice stun there.
Oh, he gets out.
But all they would do is just drop to the point if the EMP comes down, and then Neptuno's got the sound barrier on the other side of the map. You can't get both.
Blase, he's looking, he's swinging at Mace. He's very close to actually revealing Carpe there. Carpe got EMP though. Great sound barrier. Juno comes in after, but they lay a support ults, Matt. They go for the Transcendence and the sound barrier. If they still lose this fight, that would be completely disgraceful. RCK down, they trade out. Sato's missing now. It's going to be main take advantage for the Boston crew. And Poco on the higher ground. I mean, yeah, you're looking pretty good up there. I see you working out, but you don't really have anyone else to help you here. The rest of your team are going to be forced to the low ground.
You might be able to do this, though. You come in, you EMP, Poco grabs from the high ground. You have a chance. There's the grab, there's the EMP.
Oh, it's a disaster! Sato comes in with a double fire strike kill, and Philly, after layering support ultimates. I cannot believe it! They come back in with a 1-2 punch, and it's over. Just like that.
They did a good job. They knew they could give up its hit. You had Poco very close to grab. You had Carpe coming back with the EMP. You're able to combo both of those as Boston plays the point and stop them with only 50% capture progress.
That's absolutely brutal. Philly, I can't believe they won that fight. I mean, EMP and Grav is pretty good combo, I guess. Next half of Hollywood, right in a moment.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
My ultimate is charging. My EMP. 60 seconds. Damn it.
Now, if you're a fan of Philly Fusion dating back to our inaugural season, you would be very familiar with a very clutch style of play from a team who managed to, just pull victory from the jaws of defeat. I'd say that was potentially an example of that when that EMP and grab hit, Boston got rocked.
I think when you see Carpe start to bring some of the damage dealers out, you kind of see glimpses of the Philly Fusion that was last year. I think, look, you can play Zarya at a high level. I think, though, like, to dominate the game as Zarya, I think you need a lot of your other teammates to help you out, dedicate resources. Like, you need to play the right way. You know, when you can play a Sombra or a Widowmaker or a Tracer, like, at the level that he's at, like, you just feel like you have way more control of the game, probably, in his hands than playing Zarya. Has to frustrate him at times, but being able to bring the Sombra out some more, I think you'll see that from Philly. It looks good. Philly opts to not play Sombra here. I kind of like this on the attack because defensively here, you just have all that.
It's harder to get good EMPs, as you were saying.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder. At least Poco on the D.Va now, you can control the high ground a little bit.
This is vintage Philly. They did this so much last season. Remember that huge rear shaft that Fraggy got? They rotate around, they take the low ground, and then they put Boston in the attacker's position, which in turn makes it a bit harder for RCK to get a ton of value. Purchase down early, again! Not ideal, but Boombox is traded out on that high ground. Both teams are missing their Zenyatas. Big chunk of their healing. Also those Discord orbs. So there's Reinhardt's here. We'll have a tougher time getting rid of one another except for Sato. Fusion's got knocked down. So that was set up there, of course, by EQO with the shield bash, and then Sato charges the prone Reinhardt. Yeah, Kellex is done. The Fusion have got this one. And this is fantastic. Great recovery from Philly. And this means that map 4 is going to be the decider in this series. What a way to bounce back after a frustrating draw in map 2.
Yeah, and they made that one look easy. The Sombra on defense, and then they go traditional goats on offense. One more map to decide it all. We'll have it right after this commercial break.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back to the Overwatch League in this series between Philly and Boston. This map 4 acts essentially as a tiebreaker. With one tie already happening in map number 2, it all comes down to this last escort map.
And I think you see, if you're a Philadelphia Fusion fan, like the team that you had last year's not gone. Like I think it's just kind of they hit a little bit of a bump, like a little bit of a roadblock in terms of like how they were developing in the meta and just kind of playing it.
The game changed, man.
I think having the Sombra in play could definitely be good for them as time goes on. So Poco is definitely capable of picking up Zarya roles.
You see Poco there, the Frenchman on this roster. Prolific last year with D.Va. I've been getting those self-destruct kills, Matt. He was probably ahead of the pack in terms of setting those up. Gibraltar is going to be our 4th map, and plenty of opportunity for some more D.Va hijinks for Poco, and it wouldn't be shocking to see him on that role.
Yeah, this is one where you're going to see a lot of triple tank, triple support. I believe, in the old days, you got to play double sniper, not really much anymore. Maybe you see Philly bust out, so you're going to play Winston on defense. So this is a map where, at least at the beginning, you can play whether it be Winston or Reinhardt, because you usually don't see damage dealers from the offensive side. It's just tanks.
What you're hoping to see is, as a successful first fight, your Winston able to get in and get out safely, generate a lot of ults, and okay, not this time. Sato went in, you saw he got the ball from Carpe. Now he has to stay out for a while, and this gives Boston time to push back to get the payload rolling. Winston can get a lot of charge when the payload rolls into this choke. You see Boston are going to go after meet, but see Sato jumping over the top. That Tesla cannon really hurting. Fusion's a little bit split right now. That's what Sato is aiming to do. Everyone at Boston has to drop to the low ground once their Reinhardt Fusions falls as well.
Well, yeah, they need to play around Fusions here. They went up the staircase to try and bully them off of the high ground with that Reinhardt comp. Philly did a nice job kiting this. As Sato jumps down, you get a kill on a Blase. That is huge. You don't have the break, don't have the burst heal. Now you can jump down if you're Sato. Play a little bit more aggressively.
Let's think back to stage, I guess the last couple of stages. Stage 2, we saw a lot of Rialto, right? Philly were playing that Winston-based defense on Rialto with great success. I feel like this is definitely a signature look from them. They always look better on the Winston than on the Reinhardt, and right now they're showing why. They're very good at jumping in, letting the Winston get charge and damage, charging up the Primal Rage, and then getting out.
Oh, and they're going to collapse on them. They got EQO coming from one side and then Sato jumping down from the other.
Primal Rage.
And now Boston is trapped.
Okay. in all fairness, Philly actually take their foot off the gas there, which is, I wonder what it is that tips them off to that.
They kind of have it in the rights there. I mean, they have.
I think they just want to grab this. That is curious that Philly don't go aggressive. Now they decide to do it. Let's see if this pays off for them. Carpe grabs straight away. Gonna land that one. Persia gets his Transcendence, but it's a little bit too late to save Kellex, so they're down 1 now. Fusion's not going to survive, not even through the Transcendence. Boombox just chucking that Discord orb on, amplifying damage. The Boston Uprising, this looks pretty grim. Philly only use a grab in that fight. It is such a cheaply won engagement, whereas Boston, they are forced to use Transcendence and still lose that fight.
Yeah, I mean, Philly, you have that Transcendence, you have Rally here for the next fight. They're in a really good spot. I mean, 1:40 left, not a ton of time here. Here the Uprising is. Carpe well on his way to another grab, 50% of the way there. You can see those right clicks coming down, those alternate fires, just chunking players down.
And pushing into this choke as Boston feels like you're off to the coal mines, man. You know you're going to get dropped on. You know it's going to be a bad day at the office. Color Hex.
But look, whenever Sato jumps on them, they just back off. They allow him to build ult, which he already has, but still, like, he'd be guarding a lot of percentage. This also gives Carpe time to continue to farm.
And ult as well. We'll have another Graviton too. What? Okay, I don't know. That interesting Graviton surge usage there from Color Hex on the high ground. I think he thought that Philly were diving.
I think he thought.
And he'd be able to sort of catch someone who was too far forward, but I might need to see a replay on that one, but I'm pretty sure that was a big yikers.
I mean, to have that happening and potentially, I mean, while a series deciding map.
Honestly,
I mean,
that could be the game there.
With 40 seconds to go, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're looking like, I mean, a mistake like that is massive.
Oh, okay. It's not often I hear you react with indignation when you see that, Matt, so that should tell you guys at home that this was maybe a little bit more egregious than what we'd seen. But at least we understand what he was trying to do there. Unfortunately, the execution makes it look full, but the idea behind it is reasonable. Sound barrier for Boston. Guess what, Philly? Okay, well, we'll just let it go. We'll let that sound barrier tick down. We've got one of our own now.
I mean, they have the ability to kind of get back to the cart, get the mobility of the Winston here. Primal Rage still available here.
Preemptive Transcendence from Persia. Sato says, okay, well, we've forced another support out now. I'm just going to stay over on the payload and just try and take my time. Still, sound barrier had to be used by the Philly Fusion. Persia's down now, so they're missing that Zen once more. Sato can feel safe knowing he's not about to get discorded and blown up before his healers have a chance to top him back up. This is trouble for Boston, for sure. Sato, quite happy to see here and charge up. Boombox is very close to a Transcendence. He was actually knocked to the ground here. He needs a chance to pick himself up, and he can. Fusion's trying to go for a shatter, and if Boston had followed up on towards Boombox, they could have stopped this Transcendence, but now it comes.
Rally
the Philadelphia Fusion get more aggressive. EQO, 2 rallies in one fight. Don't mind if I do.
Oh, the grab.
Blase, Crush. Another grab goes by the wayside for Color Hex, and the Zarya for the Uprising has been essentially invisible.
Now the first grab, you have to take another look at it. Now, potentially, you think that Sato's coming in and trying to use Primal, and you could have just caught him out, but they don't get anything with it. Maybe a clip like the side of the high ground there, like a box. The second one just gets eaten there by Poco as Carpe's Graviton surges yield 7 kills for the Philly Fusion. Color Hexes give them 0.
Carpe has just been farming charge off of Sato that entire round, 67% average energy, and it was as simple as letting the Winston drop off the edge, get bubbled, do a bit of damage, jump back up and rejoin. This in and out kind of play from the Philadelphia Fusion looks so good. And this really seems like their go-to. If this kind of play gets shut down, then they tend to struggle.
It's great for Philly, but this is tough for Boston.
You are boomed. Your mental is absolutely boomed.
This is like you get all the way to the distance here and things just go horribly wrong. Let's take a look at this. So they come around the corner.
He sees Poco. Sato,
yeah, they're just trying to
catch
Sato.
Sato.
They're just trying to catch out Sato here,
yep.
but he's so far away.
He was baiting, but he's just baiting for Zarya charge and for stuff like this. And as soon as you see on the kill feed like an Eaton gravel, you hear that grab go off in your Boston, it gets in your head. You'd be very unhappy.
Ah, that's a tough one there.
And they look pretty despondent right now, and I don't blame them. In this series, they look so good after map 2, even with the draw.
How do you get the confidence back after that, right? You get rolled on Hollywood, you get full held there, and then now you kind of have these blunders that happen in potentially a
Fusion hasn't stopped. He's still talking to his team. He's still G'ing them up.
So let's try this sim here.
The teleporter, I believe, they got destroyed or cancelled, so it didn't work out.
Both teams go with Winston base comps. So we'll get to see Fusion play Winston. As,
you can see Fusions play Winston too.
Play Winston, yeah.
That's exciting.
So, if they want to drop down, you know, but like in the Winston versus Winston matchup, like you kind of, I mean, Sato is very good at Winston. Like I think Sato's best.
That's his
hero,
strength, right?
Is Winston.
Do you think Fusion's his strength is the Winston or the Rhine? Or
I think the Rhine. I think your Fusions, you want to be playing that Reinhardt because Winston's still good though. It's not like you kind of look at him as like just like a Reinhardt one trick, right? Yeah.
Is it, I think his Rhine is what got showcased when he played against the USA in the World Cup.
Ton of card progress here. Look at the cards.
Yeah, they lost Boombox though, so I guess they elected to. I'm kind of surprised actually that there wasn't any more kills for Boston in that fight. All right. Oh, Discord Orb, yeah. That's why picking off Persia early in these fights is such a nice thing. Sato got blown up very quickly, and this is looking much better here from Boston. They can win the series here. I mean, make no mistake.
This would be huge for Boston's season to win this.
Yeah. And
I mean, come back like this.
After such a short push, we've seen this happen before though. We've seen both teams not get very far through this map, but
I mean, we've seen holds like this before. Remember the game we casted with the Spark and the Titans this week?
Oh yes.
Where the Spark they full hold the Titans on Havana and then they're not able to complete it either, and then they end up losing it. It doesn't go 5.
Nicely done. Fusion
almost
just
got Primal to live.
Yeah, but he walked the tightrope. He didn't have to use it. If he'd spent it there, it would have been pretty bad for him. So he backs away. He actually uses a jump. So this means he has to allow the payload to push up a little bit more, and he can't access the high ground yet. Notice that RCK is not challenging either because he's discorded and he's low. Okay, there he goes. He goes to the high ground and uses Primal here. He needs to get some more value from it now. Philadelphia, you should have rally.
Look at this positioning for Carpe. I mean, it's so good just being able to chunk down from the high ground above.
Both grabs online now. Fusions drops the bubble here. Both teams playing very carefully. Here's the Primal now from Sato. We held on to it for as long as he could. Hex needs to hit a big grab. They catch Sato this time. He actually got him. And the Transcendence is a little bit too late, but there's a trade. Kelex goes down. Self-destruct gun is in over the top, and it doesn't affect anyone inside the grab. The Boston Uprising put down a bubble as Fusions protecting his team, but now he's left them. He's gone to the high ground. And Blase and Hex get cut down. Fusions wasn't there to protect them. Big Brother wasn't home. And the bullies have come. Now Fusions gets himself a sound barrier, but it's just Kelex and RCK left on the payload, and just a little slip has cost Boston the series. Philadelphia Fusion, a bit of vindication for them now on a very difficult stage. They stay above 500, but for Boston, it has been the week from hell.
It is a rough week for the Boston Uprising, but from halftime on, Philadelphia looked great. They full hold on Hollywood behind Carpe Sombra, then here the final map on Gibraltar, do an excellent job playing the Winston version of the 3-3. They don't even let Boston get point A here on Gibraltar, and they complete it on offense to get it done.
We saw a bunch of really interesting nuances and interactions actually over those last couple of maps. Like in those last couple of moments, Fusions goes to the high ground and maybe, the rest of his team backs away. It looks like they were disengaging. Philly Fusion, though, they had to work for it. They looked very quiet on that first match, extremely so. They managed to recover. They're double sniping. That's where I hope we'd see some more of that shine from them. Didn't work out, but they played the Winston 3-3, and they look really good. They remind me of London with that composition. Both them and London seem to have an aptitude for using Winston defensively.
They could have won Paris as well. Paris comes all the way, to the end. I mean, they had a chance on that map. It'll be Philly winning here today. Let's hear from EQO with Mika on the floor.
Thanks, guys. Give it up for EQO and the Philadelphia Fusion, everyone. What a great win. And this was a win that you guys needed. It's your first win at the stage. So what's going through your mind right now?
I mean, we practiced really hard for today. And obviously, we didn't have such a good streak lately. We've been losing. So it was a very important match for us to bounce back. And I think the win streak is happening now. So the stage just started. We're 1-2, but I believe we can finish the stage 5-2 and maybe get it to stage playoffs, which is our goal.
Absolutely. I love the confidence. And today we saw a lot of fun comps. On the first map, though, we saw a lot of DPS coming out of Boston, and we saw you gone to Genji, which was always fun to see. We saw Nanoblade. So were you surprised to see so much DPS from Boston, given this current meta?
No, I think they've been playing DPS in the recent matches, so we've been expecting and we prepare for that. So the swaps we already had in mind, we just made them, and it worked out, kind of.
I would say it worked out. You pulled off the win today if you look at the screen behind you, so congratulations. Give it up for EQO one more time. That was a nice cheer. It's always good to hear. So thanks. That's all we have down here. Back to you, Mitch and Matt.
Thank you very much. Yeah, some humility there from EQO, which is kind of what we're used to, but the Genji Sombra stuff looked really good on Paris. They were actually way ahead. Unfortunately, a couple slips towards the end of that map cost them a chance to take it away cleanly, but regardless, they get themselves a series, and the 5-2 is definitely possible for Philly, Matt.
Look, I mean, Philly is a team that you don't want to see at the end of the season. The HP player of the match is going to be Carpe from the Philly Fusion. I thought his Sombra was very effective on Hollywood. Definitely got the better of the Sombra matchup on that map, especially, you know, when they played it on the defensive side. You really like the Sombra on the defense here on Hollywood. And you know, in the final map where you needed the good Zarya play, you got it.
They're definitely well-deserving player match presented by Omen by HP. The Zarya, very solid. We didn't see any sort of wonky crafts from him. It was very consistent. I was kind of sad that we didn't really get to see him really dominate when he switched to the Widowmaker. You know, saw him play on attack on Paris maybe. He just needs a little bit more time to play it. And maybe we need to see a little bit more of that from Philadelphia. Either way, I look forward to that.
Yes.
Over the next couple of weeks. I'd say that Philly still have a bit of a road ahead of them right now, and they definitely want to play some playoff Overwatch here in Stage 3.
I mean, they have the talent to make the run. I don't think that is in question with anybody. I think it's just whether they can, you know, get a good grasp of the meta. I think the Sombra stuff definitely helps them out.
Coming up next to round out our week is going to be the Los Angeles Gladiators taking on the Washington Justice. It's always on the line here for the Washington Justice. They definitely need some wins. And this will be a tough one, but stick around and see how they fare after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile.